We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Mike, we had an Adam Gase-like start to the podcast, but just before recording, ripped a little smelling salt to get things going here. On the Wednesday morning pods, when we get into the studio at 7, you got here at what, 6:30? I was on here 6:45.
Yeah.
You got to do something, man. And I didn't have coffee this morning. Like, someone's got to get me going.
Yeah,
I think the smelling
I
salt's
can't
work.
believe you didn't have coffee. If I rolled in here and did the pod without coffee, it would suck. And so you better bring it. That's why I brought
I'm trying to challenge myself, because I drink a lot of coffee. I drink more than most people should, and I'm trying to see if I can work without it. And I'm gonna try that today. Here we are. The smelling salt has me going though. It's a short high. I'm feeling it, feeling pretty good. No stories to start today. We haven't got enough votes yet. Do you want to hear about my mom on the most wanted list? Do you want to hear about my dad crashing the '65 Mustang? There's another one about how I got 24 stitches in my head from my sister.
How many crashes does he have?
How many crashes does he have?
At this
Too
point.
many. So as a kid, I've had more than 6 cars. My dad has totaled 4 of them.
Holy shit.
We can get into each individual story, but the first one, my first car I've ever gotten was the 65 Mustang, which is absolutely incredible. Cherry car that he drove once under my possession. And the crash story will save. You got to get your votes in. DM me on Instagram. Leave a reply in the tweets. What do you want to hear? I got the stories. What do you want to hear? We'll get into it maybe on the mailbag episode or save it for next week. But let's go ahead and talk about Chris Olave. I was bummed out, dude. I didn't have a tweet to say. I didn't say anything about it, but Chris Olave going back to school sucks. I think he could be like a legitimate first rounder playing in the NFL at a high level in 2021. Going back to Ohio State's great. We don't know how good that offense will be without Justin Fields pursuing a championship, whatever it may be. And I still think there's opportunity for his stock to get better. But like, how much better is it going to get for Chris Olave? I think we've already seen a lot of what we want to see from him.
Yeah. Well, I was actually more surprised. I wasn't surprised that Chris Olave necessarily came back to school. I was surprised there weren't more guys like Chris Olave who were kind of like, I only played a handful of games this year. If I come out and ball out, if I do what Devontae Smith just did, I work my way to the top 10 picks. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to be Devontae Smith, but I was surprised there weren't more, and maybe it's because we'll see some more of the seniors come back to school that didn't have to necessarily declare to be eligible for the draft, but then they have until March 1st to say they're not going to the draft or whatever that stupid rule is. But yeah, Olave, I'm not sure he goes that much higher is the thing.
I agree.
Like, I'm not sure he comes back to school. He's not going to be Devontae Smith getting all the targets there. They have a ton of talent. Jeremy Ruckert came back to school. They have Garrett Wilson there in that offense, and you're not going to have Justin Fields throwing the football now. Now, I'm not going to say Ohio State, who's the quarterback in their pipeline. His name's eluding me right now. But they're still going to have probably a quality quarterback, but you're not going to get much more of a better situation than Justin Fields.
And Garrett Wilson's eligible for 2022, isn't he?
Yeah. So
Garrett Wilson's probably going to go ahead of Chris Olave. I mean, this guy is like legit. Garrett Wilson
awesome.
is insane. And they have another former 5-star there, 2 former 5-stars that are going to be working their way into the offense with that. I think it's going to be interesting because he's not going to get pumped to targets unless you see, and you're not hoping for it, but unless you see like a Jalen Waddle-like injury, because Devontae Smith doesn't do what he did if Waddle doesn't get hurt early in the season.
Yep.
Like, he's not going to have the target share that he had. So it's an interesting one. I feel like there's obviously more to it. You probably want to talk to Olave about why he's coming back. Maybe he's finishing
Columbus
his
is
degree.
fun.
Columbus is fun. I do like Columbus. Let's go ahead and jump now into the rookie superlatives, Mike. You had this idea to do this for the pod. I wanted to touch on Seth Galina's mock draft, but it's just unadulterated trash. You didn't like it
I was going to say, I didn't even look at it. Sorry, Seth, if you're listening.
Oh, my gosh. Can we highlight a couple of it before we dive into
actually highlight a couple of it. I want to get into just...
Let me dive into this real quick. But we want to do also the rookie superlatives here and touch on, some awards
tie a
from the
bow
season
on this rookie class and our thoughts on it.
Yeah, gotta tie a bow. So let's jump through.
Before
Seth
we really go
Galina
heavy draft.
published this one on Monday. Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville. Surprise, surprise. Jets picked Justin Fields. He had the Dolphins taking Devontae Smith, which is...
He's on the Fields train over Wilson.
He is on the Fields train. He does like Fields a lot, which I think is good. Has Micah Parsons going 4 to Atlanta. Bengals taking Penei Sewell. Jamar Chase falling to Philly at 6. Christian Barmore to the Detroit Lions at 7. Little high. Carolina Panthers.
He just watched the national championship game.
Carolina Panthers picked Trey Lance at 8. I think that'd be a good situation for them.
Yeah,
because Teddy Bridgewater's still there. And you're still paying him a decent amount of money. You don't have to start Trey Lance right out of the gate, and you can continue to work up that offense. And if Joe Brady really likes him, you have a really good chance of keeping Joe Brady following the season, because you don't know if he's going to be a head coach this offseason or next. But I think adding a good quarterback gives you more opportunity.
I think that's if we're talking about reasonable landing spots for Trey Lance, that's a very likely one.
Patrick Surtain to the Denver Broncos at 9. Dallas Cowboys grabbed Caleb Farley at 10. Not going to go through every single pick here, trying to find some notables. A lot of these are kind of like, I've seen this before, Seth. Where's the juice?
I will say, I go to the mock drafts portion of the PFF.com. His isn't even listed there.
Oh,
even PFF.com.
That's on me,
hates
actually.
the mock draft.
I actually control that menu. I'll add that there.
PFF hates the mock draft.
That's on me. I'll add that in a second.
Sorry,
Here. Miami Dolphins picking Jason Owe at 18, I think is high, which is good. He has Olave going to the Bears, RIP. Oh, this is the most absurd one. I texted about this. Brady Christensen at 21 to the Colts. He's like the 80th ranked player on our board. How much of Brady Christensen has he watched?
I don't know, but that one is wild. Where
That's
he come
wild.
up? He at least like buy the book and then curveball.
That's a
sidearms
curveball.
one.
Brady Christensen graded really well this year for BYU, but did not face elite competition.
No.
I would not be putting him at the top in the first round, but maybe he sees something we don't. Kyle Trask to the Steelers at 24 would be interesting. Kadarius Toney at 25 to the Jets.
I like Kyle Trask to the Steelers as a fit. 24, maybe not, but
yeah,
I do. That would be a very.
The Jags taking Kadarius Toney at 25. Can you imagine Toney and LaVisca, and then Chark, and then you add Trevor Lawrence at the top? That'd be hot. That's what you have to do. I've done a lot of mock drafts where I've looked at the Jacksonville Jaguars and grabbed Trevor Lawrence at the top, and then went defense at that second pick, because I do like some of the value at corner and at linebacker and other places. But
I wonder if they go defense free agency heavy again, unfortunately. But they have so much cap space, the Jaguars.
This is a very good free agency class to grab secondary pieces. I've said that before.
I was going to say, this is a great free agency class to have a ton of cap space, because you're a unicorn if you do. Not a lot of people have a ton of cap space. Teams are going to be out of the free agent market altogether, a lot of teams. And then there's going to be guys, it's going to be, I don't think people realize, it's going to be a shit show come free agency. You're going to have guys signing, I think the amount of one-year deals you see this offseason is going to be record-breaking in terms of guys there's not going to be teams with cap space, because I think they announced it's going to be $180 million or in that neighborhood, which when it goes backwards, a cap goes backwards about $30 million from what everyone was budgeting out in the future for. They got to make cuts somewhere. And the Jaguars are one of the teams, Jaguars, Jets. Who else is up there? I think
Bengals got some cap space.
So there are some teams out there that are going to clean up on these guys like these mid-tier free agents that their teams just cannot keep because they do not have the cap space. So you can really retool your team overnight this offseason, I'd imagine.
Quinn's always got to chime in with the Bengals nugs. You have to respect it. He also has, I've been growing on Azeez Ojulari as a back end of the first round type of guy. He has him going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 29. I like Azeez Ojulari.
He really reminds me of Yannick Ngakoue a lot.
Oh, really?
A lot.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's good.
Ngakoue has been really productive as a pass rusher.
I had it cracked me up when Yannick Ngakoue he quote tweeted a Mayock take on him saying he's probably just a pass rusher only after he his second year or whatever had a breakout, when he really still is just a pass rusher only. He really
I think he has the worst run stop win rate or run defense win rate or something of any edge defender in the NFL since he entered. He has not been a good run defender, but that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, they're not paying him for that. So
all right, that's a little brief touching. Whoa, I don't like that expression. That was us. A summary of Seth Galina's mock draft. A little summary of Seth Galina's mock draft. You can find that at PFF.com. Let's dive into these rookie superlatives, starting with best individual game performance. This one, I think if you go strictly off PFF grade, you have the one, but I have another one that I'll add as well.
I am going to go with Chase Young against the Carolina Panthers because in terms of dominance, it was the most dominant performance. He did not lose. Now, the caveat, he's going up against Trent Scott, backup tackle for the Carolina Panthers. Whatever. Sack, hit, 3 hurries, and just in the run game, unstoppable. It looked like Chase Young last year at Ohio State, the dominance we saw. And he was as advertised, man. I mean, like he if you're going anywhere else, in my opinion, you're not going the most dominant one. You're going maybe like for stats or something else.
Oh, wow. So, here we are. Justin Jefferson, week 3, same week. Is it? No, different week.
Week 16.
Week 3 against Tennessee. It was the highest graded game we'd seen from an offensive rookie this season. And he owned 3 of the 5 highest graded games by an offensive rookie this year. And I think you have to add into it too. It was the game he went for against Tennessee where he went 7 for 9 for 175 and a TD. It was also the first game that he played more than half the snaps. Like it was his first legit game starting in the NFL, and he blew up and had literally the highest graded game we saw from an offensive rookie. Chase Young had the highest for a defender, but Justin Jefferson highest for an offensive player. I just didn't want to pick the same guy. If we just pick the same guy this entire freaking episode, it's going to be lame. So I picked Justin Jefferson, dominant performance, and really impressive performance. What really put him on the radar and had people scratching their heads why he wasn't playing in weeks 1 and 2.
Yeah, it really was. It was like this guy, OBC Johnson, didn't even look like that in college. Why is he starting over Justin Jefferson? So, yeah.
I mean, he would have broken the rookie receiving yards record and then some if you had this guy involved in the offense in weeks 1 and 2. Like he got to 1,400 yards by being after being an afterthought in weeks 1 and 2, which is, again, really, really impressive for Justin Jefferson. Worst individual game performance.
Yeah, we're going to do good and bad here.
Have to do good.
Because I don't like to hate too much on prospects because they're kids. But once you get to the NFL, you're getting paid. You can take the criticism at that point. This one, unfortunately, Shane Lemieux, the dreaded bagel in pass protection, a 0.0 pass protection grade against the Browns in week 15. I think that's the worst part of it. It's against the Browns. It wasn't like you're 0.0 going up against Aaron Donald. You got Larry Ogunjobi giving you like this arm over.
Ogunjobi's good.
He's fine. But it's not 0.0 bad.
Have you ever heard Neil Hornsby, the founder of PFF, who is from the UK, who has a very thick accent, say Larry Ogunjobi?
Can we get like a clip of it and insert it?
I'll try and work on it. I'll talk to him about it because it is incredible. Larry Ogunjobi. And he listens to the podcast, so he'll hear this. But I think he does pronounce Larry Ogunjobi pretty well. The other thing I wanted to add is, you know that clip that kind of got viral because Seth Galina said Justin Herbert can't play. And you just talked about like, don't be negative about prospects. I feel like every time we get too negative about a prospect, we should play that clip. He can't play. He just can't play. Like that's what Seth Galina literally says. I feel like that'd be a great homage to.
I'm not like worried to look dumb though. That's not why I don't want to skew negative. It's just like.
No, that's not what I meant either. But that is being very black and white negative about a prospect. Yeah. Like you telling a prospect who is going to go in the first round that he just can't play, and he's talked about it to me too. He's like, yeah, I could have worded that better. Yeah, you could have, because like. That's being overly negative, overly black and white about guys that have every single player in this class has a range of outcomes, you know, and he can't play, probably wasn't on for Justin Herbert, but here we are. My guy for worst individual game performance. I mean, again, Shane Lemieux, a 0.0 pass blocking grade. I've never even seen that, but I wanted to highlight Patrick Queen. He had 3 of the 6 lowest graded single games for any rookie defensive player. But honestly, I don't want to bag on him too hard. Like playing linebacker in the NFL as a rookie this year was very difficult. You know, so many of the lowest graded games this year, lowest graded players were at linebacker and corner among the rookie class. And I think rightfully so. Like I think Patrick Queen has a very good opportunity to bounce back next year. I still think he has a lot of tools and a lot of traits that he will develop and be better. You can bet on Patrick Queen being a better player in year 2, and I would not say he's a bust by any means.
He got a ton of -1s, and it reminded me a little bit of like Devin White's rookie year. He got a ton of -1s because he would just completely lose a guy in his zone behind him. Mm-hmm. And like that's bad. It's very bad. He didn't get -1s because he couldn't stick with guys. Yeah. Because he wasn't, because the tight end was just running past him down the seam. No, he got -1s because he just wasn't like comfortable in that offense yet. That wasn't really an issue for him at LSU. It's just a lot of those were because, rookie. So we're not writing. Like I think you'll see a much better player in year 2.
I mean, Devin White didn't grade well as a rookie. Devin Bush didn't grade well as a rookie. I think some of these like highly athletic linebacker prospects where you expect them to come in and be like instant starters, instant impact players. He has had splash plays, and so has Devin White.
Exactly. In terms of makes a lot of plays that you're just not. Maybe him and maybe 2 other linebackers in the class would have.
Exactly. So, and I mean, that's honestly a lot of what you're looking for at linebacker. It's very difficult to play linebacker well in the NFL. There's only like 2 or 3 guys in the NFL that you would call good year over year. Maybe just one now. Yeah. Like Bobby Wagner is probably the only and Eric Kendricks. Bobby Wagner and Eric Kendricks are probably the 2 linebackers I'd say every year Fred Warner, I'd start to throw in the conversation. But okay, there's just not a lot of guys though where you're like, this guy next year is going to be very, very good. Like it's volatile from a grading perspective because I think it's a very difficult position to play in today's NFL. It's why most teams aren't playing with more than 2 on the football field anymore. You don't see 4 off-ball linebackers, 3 off-ball linebackers on the field anymore. It's 2, maybe. And even the best defenses in the NFL, and I've gone on this rant before, but the best defenses in the NFL don't have absolute all-stars at linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams had maybe the worst linebacking duo in the NFL.
Micah Kaiser and Reeder, right? I mean, that was who they started in the playoff game.
And Kenny Young also, I think. But... yeah, I think you sold a few guys short there in terms of linebackers around the NFL. I think Jamar Davis is still good. I think Darius Leonard's good.
Kill me.
I think Levante David's good. But you're right. Like, there's not a lot of guys that are super reliable to be productive year in and year out because it's like I said, it's
also very scheme dependent. Like, we saw Corey Littleton go from one of the highest graded coverage linebackers in the Rams defensive scheme, and then he goes to Paul Gunther, and he's literally one of the lowest graded linebackers in the NFL. I think they asked him to do a ton in that defense, and he's played completely
But I think
different.
that's like the same. I don't want to say it's like the same as Patrick Queen. It's like the learning curve. You have to know everything about a defense to play linebacker well. You have to know like literally everything that's going on a football field. And so if you're thinking about that, even for a second, you're not playing. Yeah, exactly.
And I think Patrick Queen at LSU played fast. It was one of the first things you noticed. Like, he was moving at snap every play. With the Baltimore Ravens this year, no preseason, abbreviated offseason, Zoom meeting practices. No wonder he's playing a little bit slower than he was at LSU. I think you expect him to get better. Looking now at our next superlative, most surprising good performance from a rookie this year.
The most surprising, if it's for the whole season, has to be Justin Herbert for a number of reasons. But like the biggest of which was this was better than the guy we saw even last year in college. That doesn't happen at a lot of positions. I don't know what happened with Tristan Wirfs at tackle, but it certainly does not happen at the quarterback position. You do not play better against NFL level defenses than you do against college level defenses. It just never happens. So that one has to go down as, in my opinion, the most surprising.
So that is the obvious one, but I don't want to pick the same guy. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson, a guy that we didn't have as the number 1 wide receiver in this class. We didn't even have him top 3. And he ends up coming and breaking the rookie receiving yards record, looking very good doing it as well, and winning it on the outside, winning from the slot. I think we're going to get to this later, I think he is bound for some regression in year 2, but Justin Jefferson, I think, was a big surprise. No one pegged him to be the best receiver his rookie season, especially even in the Minnesota Vikings situation. Yes, he was coming in, and there was some Stephon Diggs targets to take over, but he wasn't even starting week 1 or week 2. Like, no one expected Justin Jefferson to have the year he had, and he did with Kirk Cousins and company. I think it was really impressive.
I would argue, though, that like our question marks of him weren't such that like it wasn't terribly surprising that once you told me that like he was capable of getting off the line of scrimmage consistently against NFL level quarterbacks, then I was like, then he's very good. Like everything else is very, very good. And that wasn't that surprising to me. I think guys more like Tristan Wirfs being the best off right tackle in the NFL year 1 is more surprising to me. And there were maybe a couple other, but I don't think Justin Jefferson would have been my second on that list. I'll just say. That's all I'm saying.
Tristan Wirfs being better. I mean, where was he for us on tackles? Was he 4th?
He was second.
Second.
So, I mean, but I just say rookie tackles in general don't play like the best right tackle in the NFL. That doesn't happen ever.
He looks like an absolute monster.
Like he looks like that's Hall of Fame trajectory when you play that well as a rookie. So
wow,
that just is like that. Quentin Nelson looked like that at guard, but we expected it. Tristan Wirfs looking like that at tackle. No one expected it, or else they would have been the first tackle off the board.
I feel like you get a full understanding why the Bucs were so aggressive trying to trade up and get him. You remember seeing that video behind the scenes?
Okay, I was thinking about that the other day, and I couldn't remember, and then I couldn't find the video. Were they going specifically for him, or were they just saying we need a fucking tackle?
It's a good question. I don't remember. I'd have to think that they were trying to go get him, right? Because I think were the other tackles off the board?
I think they just wanted to get into the tackle class.
Maybe they were. Maybe you're right.
That's why I remembered it as, but I might be wrong.
Most surprising rookie this season on the bad side of things. So not the most surprising good one, most surprising bad one.
This one, to me, not even close. Jeffrey Okudah looked unplayable at times, which He was dead last in the NFL in yards per coverage snap allowed. And if it was like he's giving up a lot of yards, but then making out a lot of plays, you could forgive him. No, he had one pass breakup and one pick all year long. He just was not ready. Now, has any cornerback played well in the Detroit Lions scheme the last 3 years? No. We're gonna maybe get to one of the superlatives involves that a little later on. But to look that bad was very
stunning.
To see.
I mean, he was not supposed to be that bad. He looked completely different than what we saw at Ohio State.
Who watched him at Ohio State, no matter how low your opinion of him could have been based off that tape, will tell you it was stunning how bad his rookie year was.
You know who I think is doing a victory lap right now? For Jeffrey Okudah. Do you remember that guy at the combine who told Okudah that he's sloppy or gets penalties? Do you remember that? And then Okudah told him cut the tape on again, and he was he worked at the Score Crow or something, and then he was getting flamed on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he was talking about penalties.
Yeah, and then Okudah said cut the tape on again. That guy somewhere, I think he deleted his Twitter because he was getting absolutely lambasted on Twitter.
Oh my God, that guy.
He's having a victory lap.
A scary looking human being.
That was our fault too. We were the ones who took that video. Yeah, so we should apologize to that guy.
He was the one who asked the question, though. We took the video. We were back there taking the video. That's funny, man. No, he's not having a victory lap. Jeffrey Okudah, I think, plays again. He plays a lot better next year. I think he plays a lot better next year. There's just no way.
If he plays worse, well, that will be a surprise.
I had a couple here. I think Henry Ruggs, how poorly he performed this season with open season from a targets perspective. Tyrell Williams was hurt. Bryan Edwards couldn't find the field. You had Nelson Aguilar there, and he ended up being a bigger player for them in that role than Henry Ruggs was. Yes, you had Darren Waller, but this was his opportunity in an offense with an accurate quarterback that throws a good deep ball. You expected him to come in and play a little bit better and have more production. He was not schemed targets. He was not involved, purposely involved.
He had the game winner. Don't hate on the game winner.
He did have the game winner. He did have the game winner, which is exactly what they should have been doing more of, though.
Mm-hmm.
Either way.
I'm not that surprised in a bad way with Ruggs because it's Derek Carr. Derek Carr was never going to throw him the ball.
Yeah.
That was just not the routes he likes to target.
But Nelson Aguilar did more better down the field.
I know. Yeah, that is, I guess, the little surprising thing is that Aguilar took more of that role. But yeah.
I mean, I never expected Derek Carr and Henry Ruggs to lead the league in deep receiving or deep yards, but I expected him to have a better role than Nelson Aguilar. Mm-hmm. Literally, when they were going into games where he did not have a target until the fourth quarter. How are you not scheming him targets, scheming him screens? Because you go back to his Alabama tape, he did not have a ton of deep receptions. You talked about that a ton in the draft class. Yeah. I mean, in the pre-draft process. Why aren't you scheming him slants? Why wasn't he first read on more of these throws? He was your guy. You drafted him first of all these receivers in this class. I think some of that, and I've heard some of this from people, that he was slow getting the offense, slow understanding the offense and getting that connection with Derek Carr. You have to think he goes better in year two. Because if you are overall not quick with every playbook, which no one is, I mean, not everyone is, and then you add in the no preseason and the Zoom classes in the offseason.
Again, if you're thinking while you're running a route, you're going to run a shit route.
Yeah. The other guy I had here was Andrew Thomas, number 1 ranked tackle. He played better of late, but I expected him to hit the ground running at least a lot better than what he did out of the gate.
Yeah, I can get on board with that one. That one was very surprising. Now, if you take into account the fact that the entire Giants offensive line looked like they had never pass protected before.
I mean, they fired their offensive line coach.
They were disastrous in terms of dead last in the NFL.
I mean, he played a lot better, too.
And they did once
after they fired the coach, too. Least surprising rookie this season in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, I start. It's easy to say Chase Young. I'll give you Chase Young in this one. To me, Antoine Winfield. Now, he was a second rounder. How was that least surprising? If you just watched him at Minnesota, you kind of knew, hey, if he stays healthy, he falls the second round because of multiple ACL tears. He stays healthy. This guy is an impact football player at the safety position. He's going to make big plays because of the way he sees the game, and he's a good athlete in his own right. He's not, exceptional in that regard, but he is just a solid all-around football player that is NFL ready and then comes into the Bucs and it's exactly that. He had the big forced fumble in that game this past weekend.
I mean, that's a guy that played really well this season, but I don't even think we've seen the best of him. I think he's going to play a lot better next year too. Mm-hmm. He is going to get a lot better in year 2, and he's already played really, really well. You said it already, but least surprising is Chase Young. We said he was going to be the highest graded rookie defender. He was. He's top 5 all time.
How smart we are.
top 5 all time among rookie edge defenders.
Sixth highest grade edge in the NFL this year.
I mean, he was outstanding this year. He was as advertised, and I don't even think we've seen the best from him. I still think there's opportunities for him to improve. Like, he was winning a lot with like strength and athleticism. I think he can get a lot better.
He really can. Well. That's the scary thing, is he was kind of just. It was kind of just winning by the fact that he's a freak right now.
Yeah,
and it wasn't necessarily. He doesn't have a full complement of moves to throw at you. Now, the ones he does have are pretty damn good still, but.
If he can add that, I mean, he could be like Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Like
it was very reminiscent, in my opinion, of Khalil Mack's rookie year, where it's just like, man, he doesn't really have much as a pass rusher, but this guy is just a freak in the way he plays.
Yeah, because I remember Khalil Mack, people were not really upset, but I remember Raiders fans, and I'm from Oakland, California.
Because, he had like two sacks.
He only had 1 or 2 sacks.
Yeah.
His rookie season, like, oh, man, he's a bust. But, like, he graded really, really well for PFF, and this was before I even was working at PFF.
Yeah.
But then, like, you saw him just get better every single year and add moves every single year. If Chase Young... I would say right now, if Chase Young's listening to the podcast, highly doubt it. But if he is, you need to shoot a text at Khalil Mack and like get together with that guy, because I feel like he's gonna help you get on a path here.
Yeah,
let's see it. All right.
And the other thing to note is there have been 3 guys who have really hit the ground running in the entirety of PFF grading the NFL that have really come in and look like stud pass rushers from day one. And I wouldn't even put Chase Young in that mix. He kind of was like hot and cold as pass rusher. But Von Miller, Alden Smith, Nick Bosa. 3 guys. That's it. J.J. Watt didn't look like a stud pass rusher day one. Aaron Donald was good. It was not Aaron Donald we know now from year one. It's very tough to do.
If you look at the like 5 or 6 highest graded rookie edge defenders in the PFF era, dating back to 2006, it's like Alden Smith, Von Miller, the Bosa brothers, Khalil Mack,
I guess I
and then Chase
Joey
Young.
Also, Joey was very good as well, but he only played 12 games. But
like grading well, people talk about dominator rating and like breakout age. If you play really well as a pass rusher along the edge in PFF system as a rookie, it is very likely that you're going to be able to progress really, really well. I mean, Alden Smith would have been a great if he didn't have the off-field stuff.
Well, and it's kind of why the D-line grades are one of the most predictive. It's like if you come in and are beating NFL tackles because it's a very one-on-one situation, that bodes well. There's no like faking beating a guy one-on-one.
And I think they're more predictive because they're more binary. Like they're the events that you're tracking or charting are win and loss based and very binary. Well, in other areas where we're grading players like coverage and stuff, it's not as binary. It's not as simple as winning and losing a route.
Patrick Queen, there's no Chase Young not knowing his role on a play.
Yes.
And getting caught out of position. Like that's like extremely rare. That happens a lot at corner safety.
Like at linebacker, there's like 8 ways to lose and like 2 ways to win. Like at edge defender, there's a loss and there's a win. Like you beat him or you don't. And I think that's because you are tracking and charting more binary events, more fixed events, you can get more predictive data. I've talked about this and I've had this conversation.
That got real nerdy.
I've had this conversation with Chris and Neil before about getting advanced data in tennis. There are fixed events in tennis that I think you can get more advanced data for. If you cut the court into like 16 quadrants and you looked at, X player's forehand into like A1 or A2 and how often those are being returned, like you have such fixed events that you could get like some legit predictive ass data in tennis. I don't know if we're going to do it, but I think we could. Tennis isn't as popular as football, but I've thought about it before. But anytime you're looking at sports where there are these fixed events, you can get some really good analytics.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's why football was late to the game. Like baseball, analytics took over baseball because that's the most fixed event sport in the world. Yeah. Like it's pitcher to batter, set number of pitches. All this stuff is very, very fixed. While with football, it's such a free-flowing sport. Soccer, basketball, it's taking more time for people to find valuable analytics, valuable ways to evaluate talent and players in those games. And we're getting closer. We're getting closer. All right, that was a little bit of a rabbit hole. Let's get out of it. Least surprising rookie this season in a bad way. Or the least surprising rookie this season that played poorly and we expected him to.
Yes. There you go. I'm going to go with Austin Jackson, USC tackle. Another one where he got drafted. Everyone's like, well, he's not good now, but like you're hoping he's good later. And the reason that it's not surprising whatsoever was he faced 3 guys his last season at USC that ended up getting drafted all season long. In those games, Bradley Anae, Utah edge, 45.3 pass blocking grade. Julian Aguilar, Notre Dame edge, 53.7 pass blocking grade. And AJ Epinesa, the Iowa edge, 61.8. Like the guys who he faced that were going to play in the NFL. And like, that's why the Senior Bowl matters. That's why there's that clip I just saw the other day of Nick Caserio saying, watch them play against other guys who are going to be in the NFL, that then evaluate them on that tape. When you do that against other guys who are going to play in the NFL, it doesn't make you feel great about how they're going to play next year in the NFL. 53.3 pass block rate as a rookie. So unsurprising.
And
now the Dolphins, like O-line they're at a weird position going forward where you have 3 rookie starters, I want to say, and like
Solomon Kindley, Robert Hunt, and Austin Jackson.
And Robert Hunt graded out okay, but not to the level to where you're going to put a pin in him and say, okay, that guy's going to be for sure a starting right tackle of the future. And you had 3 guys who didn't grade out great. Like if those guys don't take that next step next year, it's still going to suck. And Tua's still going to have a tough time producing any offense behind that line.
The pick I had here for least surprising rookie that played poorly and we expected him to was Damon Arnette. And I'll say this right now. Damon Arnette is not a bust yet. He did not have a good season, but we didn't expect him to have a very good season, especially playing in that Raiders defense where no one seemed to have a good season.
I was going to say, you could even throw him in the next category, which is going to be our worst situation.
Yeah, I mean, playing in Paul Gunther's scheme, like he was not put in a position to succeed. He also is coming off a season where he didn't play a ton. He didn't play at a very high level at Ohio State, goes into Las Vegas and has to go against some top flight corners in the NFL without a preseason. Again, all that stuff we've talked about. He did not play well this year. One of the lowest graded cornerbacks in the NFL. Jeffrey Okudah, I think, actually graded lower.
Yeah,
but
he did.
Damon Arnette, right with him, the 2 Ohio State guys did not come out and play well as rookies, and we didn't expect them to. But I still think Damon Arnette, his best football is ahead. He's not about. Same with Austin Jackson. I think Austin Jackson can get better, but I was not expecting Damon Arnette. I said it, I think, before week 1. Damon Arnette will either be one of the highest graded rookie corners because like he's going to have a ton of passes defense, or he's going to be like the lowest graded guy because he takes risks and can get beat deep and give up explosive plays. And we saw that this year.
Yeah, I never thought he might have been one of the highest graded. I think he allowed one of the highest completion percentages against this year, 81.3% against. I think it was the highest of any outside corner this year, which is not great.
But I feel like overall he's like a very boomer bust prospect.
Yeah.
Like you don't expect Damon Arnette to be like a consistent mid-tier corner. Like he's either going to be really good or give up a ton of big plays. And you saw a ton of big plays
Prince
this year.
Amukamara.
What?
He's not Prince Amukamara. That was like Prince Amukamara was the definition of your average corner in the NFL.
I don't think he can be that. I think he needs to be great or he's going to just get completely toasted all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Best situation for a rookie this season.
There are a number of guys who I thought went into very good situations, but it's difficult to say that anyone other than J.K. Dobbins, in my opinion, with that running game and just how much space it affords you. That's like running back heaven, in my opinion. That's like going back to college and running there again because you just don't need to do much. Average over 2.5 yards before contact per attempt. That's a lot in the NFL. Not a lot of offenses afford that to you, and that's going to be the case there as long as Lamar Jackson's at quarterback. So it's a good situation.
I like those. I went a little off the beaten path here.
Honorable mentioned Brandon Aiyuk for that offense, and just the targets he's going to get with his skill set are very favorable.
I mean, Brandon Aiyuk to San Francisco was like match made in heaven. We had him on the podcast. Or no, we have him on the podcast today.
I was going to say, tease it.
I forgot we had I recorded the interview a couple days ago and forgot that we have it coming on today. After the rookie superlatives, we'll play the interview with Brandon Aiyuk. What a great teaser. Brandon Aiyuk was awesome. I talked about his work with Kyle Shanahan, his work with Wes Welker. You got to hear what this guy says about Wes Welker. Brandon Aiyuk says Wes Welker could suit up for any NFL team and like put up 1,000 yards. Like he thinks Wes Welker's that good. And some of the stuff that he's saying is, to tease it a little bit further, is that Wes Welker will show you how to run a route with his film, and then he'll take you out to the practice field and run that route and show you how to run it in front of you. Like it's like nuts what he's doing as a receivers coach for San Francisco. Not surprised that they've been able to develop some guys there, and like Kyle Shanahan has had some talented receivers in San Francisco. The guy I picked here, a little bit off the beaten path.
That's kind of like the why the elite NFL players, the elite of the elite, you don't really want as coaches, because Wes Welker probably, with his physical tools, had to know everything inside and out about the wide receiver position to just get open. Randy Moss maybe didn't,
Yeah.
But
no, I think this is a common concept that like the best at their sport aren't always the best teachers. Like Michael Phelps is probably not a great swimming teacher because the dude is just a freak. Yeah. Like same with like Brett Favre being like a quarterback's coach. It's like, dude, you had a legitimate cannon. Like you had He didn't. There's that interview where he doesn't even know like the difference between like dime and nickel or something like that. Like he didn't have to know anything. Like he was just a freak. And I think with Wes Welker, like you said, he couldn't be that, so he had to know everything. The guy I picked here for best situation, Michael Onwenu, which was an interesting one. But Michael, like the New England Patriots and how they've developed offensive linemen over the past 5-10 years is really, really impressive. Isaiah Wynn, Shaq Mason, even Yeldy Froholt had played well when he had snaps for them. I do think that they do a really good job of developing guys that come in that maybe aren't, highly regarded prospects. Michael Onwenu went the 5th or 6th round, and he not only played well, he played well at 3 different positions. Like he played both guard spots and tackle and graded really, really well for us this year. I think he was one of the top 3 graded offensive rookies this season. I mean, Michael Onwenu, tip your cap to what he's done, but I also think he was in a very good situation with a team with a proven track record of developing young offensive line talent.
And plus, he goes to a place where they're using a lot of 6 offensive linemen, protecting him with the run game. Like he's not getting thrown like where Andrew Thomas was, where you're going empty pro 40 times a game. So, yeah.
Worst situation for a rookie this season?
I'm going to go with none other.
I like this one.
Than Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Not to protect my priors, but he actually got boned by his quarterback situation there. He didn't help out himself. 12 drops, not great. He'll clean that up. I have full faith in you, Jerry. But 59% of his targets were catchable this year. 77% for Justin Jefferson. 75% for T. Higgins.
That's nuts.
75.2% for CeeDee Lamb. Jerry Jeudy was 16 percentage points below those guys. Even Henry Ruggs, who had the farthest average depth of target of any rookie wide receiver in the NFL, 17.7 yards down the football field, had 67.4% of his passes deemed catchable. Jerry Jeudy only had 59, is an absurdly low rate. Like that is just getting missed left and right.
Who are you throwing shade at?
Who was the wide receiver that played quarterback that one game? That's what I throw shade at.
Kendall Hinton.
Yeah.
I mean, Drew Lock has not been an accurate quarterback since he entered the league. He was one of the least accurate quarterbacks this season, and Jerry Jeudy took that on the chin. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
And again, he can help himself out better. He will. He's not.
I mean, he had 5 drops
skills
in the game.
Were never necessarily an issue at Alabama. So
the guy I picked here and I had an honorable mention like you. Your honorable mention was Jeffrey Okudah, which I think is a good one. I mean, he was thrown into the fire. I think his first game where he played, he had to cover Devontae Adams in the slot or something, and it was just getting absolutely burnt.
But he also got burnt by Marquez Valdes-Scantling, which that's a no-no.
You hate to see that. Did Marquez Valdes-Scantling catch it though? That's the question. You never know.
Yeah, I think he did actually that game. He got unlucky.
I have 2 here. The honorable mention is Darnell Mooney of Chicago in a similar spot in that he was not throwing a lot of accurate targets, and he was winning a very deep vertical route tree, kind of what they wanted Ruggs to do, and he was doing it at a high rate, but not getting a ton of accurate targets down the field. And then the other one I have here, and I don't know if Quinn's going to like this or not, but hear me out. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went to an offense that had a receiving core that was vastly overrated. I can't tell you how many times I went on a Bengals radio hit after they drafted Joe Burrow, and they said, well, this receiving core's pretty good. Tyler Boyd, AJ
Green, dude, you just got to get him involved early.
John Ross, maybe he's something. Like there were people this offseason, before the season, said
John Ross. Everyone's talking themselves into John Ross. Was why.
People were even talking themselves into Auden Tate. Like it's like okay,
that was too far.
It got to a point where I thought originally when they drafted Joe Burrow, I was like, this receiving core is better than maybe people think. And then it got to a point where I was like, oh my God, you guys are overrating it. They're not that good.
Yeah, it was that Joe Goodberry, the Bengals guy, had tweeted that picture with the Bengals 5 wide and says, show me a better 5.
Which is your
and I was like, oh my. Like
I don't even think
things got a little out of hands.
Tyler Boyd is the best receiver on that team. Maybe T. Higgins overtakes that. But like Tyler Boyd plays in the slot. And like if you don't have 2 outside guys that win consistently, you're not going to have a good receiving core. I'm sorry.
Yeah, everyone thought AJ Green was going to be AJ Green again. And AJ Green was maybe one of the worst
AJ Green we've seen.
Worst AJ Green was one of the worst like outside receivers in the NFL, like full stop. And then people thought John Ross was going to actually know how to run the offense this year, which after 3, like fool me thrice, joke's on.
I mean, the off-field stuff we've heard about John Ross that we probably can't speak to, I'm not surprised.
Oh, can I say that one John Ross?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
I think we have to keep that one underneath. I don't know.
That one's not like...
I don't like it.
Whenever he gets out of the NFL, we can tell.
Yeah. When he gets out of the NFL, that's fair. You don't want to hurt. I mean, this guy's still trying to make it in the league. Yeah. But I didn't in this whole conversation about Joe Burrow being in a bad situation, I didn't bring up the offensive line. His team was starting Bobby Hart and a freaking literal turnstile, a carousel of candidates on the interior offensive line. The only constant was Trey Hopkins. Like both guard spots, they were just flipping back and forth. I don't know who could block for him.
Yeah, I mean, it is actually. I flip my vote. I go Joe Burrow too, because it tore his ACL, his situation.
Yes.
His situation cost him.
So those are the first two items. And then the third one being that Zach Taylor is still a very young offensive play caller. And you can't be super impressed with what he's done so far as a head coach from a play calling perspective.
Just call it what it is. Just say it.
Well, I don't know what to say. What are you trying to get me to say, Quinn?
I won't say it either.
I think with Zach Taylor, I think he's built a very good culture. Everyone I've talked to about the Cincinnati Bengals and that roster. Yes.
Wait, you're lying.
No, I swear. Everyone I've talked to.
Those articles about their culture and that the veterans hate them.
I think he was creating a culture where he wanted to push the veterans out. But I feel like the young players do respect him. That's what I've heard. Maybe not.
I don't know, man.
Some of that, my source on that was Solomon Wilcots, former Bengal.
My thing is, he has no track record of success whatsoever.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing over Sean McVay's actual offense, like if you aren't running the exact same thing Sean McVay did, you are not why they hired you. And he's not running the exact same thing Sean McVay did.
I mean, he's trying to do a combination of that and like what they ran at LSU. Like,
it was.
It's tough. It's hard to watch.
It sounded like he just like turned over the play calling to Joe Burrow is almost what it seemed like.
Yikes.
It's like, hey, Joe, what do you like most? Oh, empty? Oh, we're going to run empty 50 times a game now.
With my offensive line? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, let me do whatever you like.
Imagine running any of their tight ends on a route as often as they did this year. Like they ran tight ends on a route way more often than they probably should have. I mean, I think you got to keep a lot of those guys in the block next year.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you got to know your personnel better than I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing too, though, I think you brought it up a little bit there, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but you have no track record. You said you have no track record of success, no previous track record of success. Unless
you count his stint as the UC offense coordinator, where they had the 123rd ranked offense in the country.
No, I don't.
Let's just say it. He's not a very good coach. That's what I was insinuating.
I like it, Quinn.
He's not a good coach.
He was sitting over there.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to be the asshole, but like
here we are.
It's just
Bengals fan out here hurt. But here, what I was trying to get at is no previous track record of success. That's going to be already very difficult to create buy-in. Something we've talked about with all the successful coaches in the NFL have buy-in from their players. You create that through winning or developing a culture that people want to play for. Your best players want to play for. He does not have that buy-in from winning so far.
Yeah, you
better be
like
creating
Matt
it somewhere
Patricia.
else.
You got to be like, I picked that ball off in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, you have to have something though. Like, no, I mean, Robert Salah is not going to win 12 games next year, but I think you can expect him to have buy-in because just from what we've heard from players that have played for him, like, I want to die for this guy. Yeah. I will go to war with Robert Salah every single week. Are people saying that about Zach Taylor? I haven't heard it yet. Quinn's not saying it.
I mean, just like if you watch a press conference, it's not surprising though.
We'll see. What'd you think of the Arthur Smith video? Did you see the one Arthur Smith saying like he's excited to join Atlanta? It was the most monotone thing I've ever seen.
Rise up, Atlanta. It was brutal.
I'm super excited to come to Atlanta. My family moved to Atlanta. Like go Hawks or something like that. Not go Hawks, go Falcons, something like that. All right, we got to get through these superlatives here. Most likely year 2 breakout.
I'm going to go with a guy who was unfairly lampooned earlier in the season or written off, Isaiah Simmons of the Arizona Cardinals. He was a different player over the second half of the year. He looked like he could actually a playmaker. Everyone just remembers that week 1 game where he couldn't cover an angle route, 70 yards to the house. It happens.
Against the Niners?
Against the Niners. Happens. That did not happen, though. The rest of the year was a much better player. I think year 2 in that defense, you see a much different player.
My guy is Laviska Shenault Jr. with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, ready to light it up. Urban Meyer using him in that Curtis Samuel role. People are already, the fantasy community is losing their minds with Laviska Shenault and the opportunity he might have in Jacksonville next year. I'm excited about him too. Because you saw late in the season, I mean, he was getting scheme targets. Laviska Shenault Jr. was getting schemed more targets consistently in like opening game script than Henry Ruggs could dream for. Mm-hmm. And I think that speaks to the type of player he is and how excited they are about Laviska Shenault Jr. They were using him in the backfield, they used him in the slot, used him outside, and they found ways to get him the football. Good in contested catch situations. That's the underrated piece about Laviska. Like ball skills were there. He's an athlete, yes. If he can stay healthy, which he has been, I really do like Laviska Shenault Jr. as a breakout candidate.
And that's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, what's Urban's offense? What's he bringing to the Jaguars? His offense, the tenet of his offense is get the ball to my best players. That's the tenet of his offense. Hard to look at that offense and not think that you want the ball in Laviska Shenault's hands more. So it probably will get there.
I also think looking at what Urban Meyer has done over the years at Ohio State is he's been very receptive to changing things in his offense to get to identify new best players and
no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there is no one offense.
Yeah,
it's not one thing he runs.
Which the best offense coordinators, the best play callers do that. Like they say, hey, this is my roster strengths. Mm-hmm. This is how I can win football games.
Because talent ultimately trumps all at the end of the day. Like you still have to have it. There's no faking talent.
Yeah. An honorable mention I added here was Derek Brown, who played a lot better down the stretch. He had a very bad start to the season. Was getting bullied by Richie Incognito, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson early.
Raiders game was tough.
It was ugly. But I think he played a lot better down the stretch. Yeah. He was way better of a pass rusher than we really expected down the stretch. I mean, he had I think 3 total pressures in multiple games down the stretch of last season. I think you're going to see a better Derek Brown next year as well. Guy who grades better than 60, better than 70.0 overall. Most likely year 2 regression. This one is obvious. This one is the most obvious.
I'm going to get hated on for this.
No, but it's so obvious. It's very obvious.
Justin Herbert, Charge quarterback. I was talking to Bruce Gradkowski, and he agreed with the take. He's like, when fans come back, and it gets loud on the road, I don't think Justin Herbert's going to be the same guy.
Wow.
Because that was kind of one of his biggest issues at Oregon. And
that's gonna. It
almost just has to, and because, like I said, the most surprising, he was a different guy than we even saw at Oregon. He had a 75.1 passing grade under pressure, the highest in the NFL, highest we've ever seen from a rookie. He was never even close to that high, even at Oregon. His grade last 2 years under pressure at Oregon, 58.2 and a 48.8. He was bad under pressure, like most people are, and for him to do that in year 1. It's just we've seen it.
Passing grade under pressure is one of the more volatile stats year over year that we track. I mean, that's what passing performance under pressure. That's a part of regression. He was also one of the highest graded passers on third down, which is again another area that's very volatile, bound for regression. And I think you have a good point in that when fans come back and this league is different, it's going to change what Justin Herbert could do. But how much would that suck for Herbert? That he has this outstanding rookie season. He's probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year in a season where there was nobody in the stands. And then when fans come back, say he does regress and doesn't play as well, people are always going to bring up he could do it with nobody in the stands, but he sucks when everybody's around him. That's going to be a terrible narrative for Justin Herbert. I hope that's not the case. Here's my take. Justin Herbert is not going to play as well under pressure next year. Justin Herbert is not going to play as well on third downs, but I do think he gets better in some other areas in year 2. He will improve from a clean pocket in some areas. I think that offense should get better with the new coaching staff that they're bringing in. I think Justin Herbert gets better in some areas he was worse in this year, but also regresses in these more volatile bits. And you're going to find a quarterback somewhere in the middle of that's playing for the Los Angeles Chargers.
He was the 27th highest graded quarterback from a clean pocket last year.
I think that gets better.
Insane.
It's bad.
But that's just an insane sort of
split
dichotomy. Yeah.
27th?
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
You have to hope that gets better. And I think it will. And then how much he regresses under pressure will be the interesting conversation we have. I put in here Justin Jefferson. You looked at ESPN has a stat about yards, separation created above expectation. He did not rank as highly as some of the other talented receivers this year. But I think that's part of it. But also, he had such an outstanding season.
77% catchable target rate is very high.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to continue to see that. I don't know. It's interesting. Justin Jefferson is still going to be a very talented receiver, very, very good one. But he's not going to next year get 1,600 yards. You're not going to see him continue to break out in that regard. But I think that's me forcing it. The obvious answer is
there's not a lot of regression candidates when there's not a lot of guys playing at a high level.
Yeah, you have to choose between the 2 Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates. Maybe Tristan Wirfs, but I don't think that guy's regressing either.
Maybe a running back. Maybe
James Robinson
be a good one, but yeah.
Best value pick. I think you have the right one, and I have a good runner-up.
Ooh, actually, I kind of like yours. Fuck.
From a value perspective,
I'll switch mine. I'm gonna go L'Jarius Sneed.
You're a piece of shit.
The Chiefs cornerback, because he's awesome. He's actually, I will stake my reputation. I shouldn't say stuff like that, but I will put my money on him being a good cornerback in the NFL for the next 8 years. He is. His rookie season was that impressive to me because he did it from the outside. He did it from slot. And now, again, another guy who went to the situation that is ideal for him. But they put him at but that's scouting. Getting the guy who is right for your scheme is scouting. He has exceptional in press coverage, whether it was in the slot or outside. And you saw that this year. And we're still seeing that. And we'll probably see that in this upcoming weekend's game.
Yeah. L'Jarius Sneed was originally my pick, but fine. 4th rounder. Played 100.
The highest grade rookie cornerback.
And he only played 460 total snaps.
Yeah.
He was injured for some of this year, and experienced a lot of the same growing pains that other rookie corners did with no preseason, all that stuff, and still played at a very high level this season. The other pick that we have here is Michael Onwenu, who 6th rounder, started at left guard, right guard, and right tackle, and was one of the highest graded rookie offensive linemen we've ever seen, and also one of the highest graded overall linemen this season. Like, the dude came in and balled out for the Pats.
Mm-hmm. That one, yeah, that's who I had initially had. But I think ultimately, if you're going to be running a pass happier offense, he ends up a guard, but you still got a damn good guard. Like, I don't think there's any doubt in your mind about that. And for a 6th rounder.
This is the scariest one. We're going to finish the podcast with this one. And then we'll jump to the Brandon Aiyuk interview, of course. This is the scariest one because you don't want to call anyone a bust after a rookie season. But if you had to highlight one, I do think this one is very good. I couldn't pick another player than you. Biggest bust as a rookie this season.
Yeah. Like, I'm not, there are guys drafted higher that I think their teams would obviously regret. Like, I think the Giants would love Tristan Wirfs, right? Like teams would love a do-over at their same position. The Giants being one of them. It's probably the Raiders would love, Justin Jefferson at this point. Like, there are teams that probably, if they could have a do-over, would draft someone else. But this one, it's difficult to see this getting salvaged, and it's Isaiah Wilson of the Tennessee Titans, pick number 29 overall. A massive, massive reach on almost universally agreed upon.
Like one of the biggest reaches according to the consensus board, which is built with like 69 analysts or whatever it is.
Shows up on the COVID list. Has COVID when he shows up. Tries to infect the team. Gets a trespassing warning at Tennessee State
I forgot about that one.
Days later. A DUI only a few weeks after that. Unable to beat out Dennis Kelly, journeyman offensive tackle, for playing time. And then in week 13 is suspended for the Browns game for undisclosed reasons. I mean...
Yikes.
Yes. Big yikes. Like, that's one of the... Oh, he doesn't make the roster next year.
He only played 3 snaps this year.
That's that kind of path. Yeah, 3 snaps all year. If he's not on the Titans next year, no one will be surprised at this point. That's an
How
awful,
unfortunate is that? I mean, you have to, I'm trying to skew this a little positive here. You have to hope he gets healthy mentally, on and off the field healthy.
Yes.
And you hope that
someone in his ear just saying, hey, you're like about to lose millions of dollars.
Let's turn the page, Rookie year wasn't great. And so you can categorize busts in a handful of ways. Like, biggest bust, this guy's never going to be good. I don't think you want to do that at all after a rookie season. But biggest bust in terms of like what you wanted from him this year and what you got, that is a bust. Three snaps and all that off-field stuff, a suspension in week 13, like that is bad. Like you did not draft him for any of that. You drafted him to potentially play this year if he was healthy. That's a concern. I didn't have another one there. I mean, you could argue that like Ruggs has been a bust to start, like he has not produced at the level you thought. But I don't think
there are teams that obviously would have do-overs. Mm-hmm. Like obviously would go
that happens every year.
Different guy at the same position where like you're like, okay, I picked the wrong one at that point. But that again, that happens.
I wanted to use this as an opportunity to say when we're talking about the bust conversation, Damon Arnett is not a bust. Patrick Queen is not a bust.
No.
Henry Ruggs is not a bust. Austin Jackson's not even a bust. Yeah, like these guys will. You have to give more time. You can't say all of them will get better and will be more productive, but you have to give them more time. Especially, that's in every year with 60,000 fans in every stadium. But this year, even more so with COVID and how that's impacted development for young players. I think you don't call anyone a bust right now, really. But Isaiah Wilson right now, I think if you had to put a candidate in there, is a worthwhile one. That's for sure. All right, well, that's going to do it for the main bit of the podcast here. We're going to jump to the Brandon Aiyuk interview next. It's a very good one. Make sure to tune in. Let's dive in. Joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is none other than San Francisco 49ers rookie wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, former Arizona State wide receiver. How you doing, man? Enjoying the California weather, I see.
Yes, sir, most definitely. I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great, man. It's great to have you on the podcast. You have had one of the better rookie seasons of any receiver in this class. Obviously, Justin Jefferson unfairly lit the NFL on fire this year and kind of put all of the other rookie wide receivers in a tier below him, breaking the rookie receiving yards record and those things. But you also had a very productive season in your first year, even while battling injuries, different quarterbacks in San Francisco. Let's tie a bow on this rookie season. I know you've said in other interviews you've done nothing yet. I've achieved nothing yet, but positively talk about your season. What do you think you learned in your first year in San Francisco? What do you think you did well as your rookie year in the NFL?
I think just with everything going on and all the things that happened this year, just being able to stay in tune with what's going on and continue to just try to play football to the best of my ability with those things going on. And one of the main things coming in, I was a little bit nervous about the system that we were running in the offense that Kyle has, but I feel like I picked it up fairly well, and I think it showed.
Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan's offense a bit. I think a lot of media pundits and people that follow the NFL talk about very complex scheme. He gets his receivers open. The run concepts he runs are some of the most diverse in the NFL, but he schemes wide receivers open. It's a big thing he talks about, and he wants guys that can make plays after the catch. How do you think your role changed from Arizona State, where a lot of people, Daniel Jeremiah, another draft analyst here at PFF, talked about you didn't run a ton of different routes at Arizona State. Your role was somewhat limited compared to what NFL offenses run. How much did your role change going from the Sun Devils to the San Francisco 49ers?
It changed a lot. I went from Arizona State, I pretty much played on the left side of the field at X and stayed there. But when I got here, I moved all over the field from playing on the left, playing in the slot, playing outside, moving all over around the field. So that was running a lot more routes. Like I said, running routes from the slot, running routes from outside, and just pretty much running every single route.
And you're still getting better as a route runner. You were a running back early in your collegiate career or in high school. When did you make that transition full-time to wide receiver?
My freshman year of junior college was my first full-time season as a wide receiver.
When are we going to start seeing Brandon Aiyuk in the backfield? Have you talked to Shanahan at all about maybe getting some running back reps here?
No, I'm cool.
There you go. And so, you're not being exclusively used as an outside receiver, getting moved into the slot. I'm sure a lot of that improved route running and expanded route tree, you have to credit a lot of that to Wes Welker, the San Francisco 49ers wide receivers coach, longtime NFL wide receiver. What impact has he had on you? Because I know right after you were drafted, you had an interview with the San Francisco 49ers, and one of the first things you brought up is, I'm excited because I got this guy Wes Welker on the sidelines with me. How much of an impact did he have on you this year?
So much of an impact. It's been great having him. Just having a coach that he can still do it right now if he wanted to. So I know a couple times this year he put his cleats on and can still move. But just having him, he could not only tell you what to do and what it's supposed to look like, but he can pull up film of him doing it previously versus different looks. So it's just amazing to have a person like that being able to coach you. And just walk you through things and show you and tell you what to expect and how to be different looks. But it's been great having pretty much a Hall of Fame receiver being able to coach me. So it's been special.
We need to get footage of Wes Welker in practice, putting on the cleats and showing it up. I'm sure there'd be some NFL teams calling to get him on the football field here pretty soon. That's also a humble flex. Yeah, let's see some route concepts here. Oh, there's me doing it perfectly. That's a great use by Wes Welker here. I'd also like to look at. Talk about some of the top matchups you had this year. You move around a lot of bit. Played mostly on the left side, but also moved into the slot. Who were some cornerbacks you faced this year that gave you some fits that you felt like really helped you grow as a route runner, as a player in the NFL?
Richard Sherman, Jason Verrett.
Good call.
Emmanuel Mosley. There was a lot of guys that I played against this year. Just being able to go against those. A bunch of different players, whether that's in the slot or outside, that I was able to take notes from and jot those down and watch it on film and go back and excited to get those matchups again this year. There's a couple of them that I saw on our schedule that I'm ready for.
So looking at your season specifically, it was kind of this week 7 where a switch flipped. You started to receive a ton of more targets in the offense, had a lot more production from week 7 onward. I think you had 7 targets, 10, 11, 9, 16, 13. Was that a focus by Kyle Shanahan, or was that you kind of like finally coming into your own in the NFL? Do you feel like a switch kind of flipped in week 7?
I think that was just kind of I'm not sure exactly why that was. It was just pretty much situational, I believe, just with the guys who went down. I had a role, and that role kind of changed a little bit when the situation changed. So I'm not sure exactly why that was, but my thing coming into the season was I'm not sure how many opportunities I was going to get or where my opportunities would be at, but I'm just making the most of those opportunities that I did get. So, yeah.
What's the competition like between you and Deebo Samuel? Similar players, very good after the catch, and Deebo Samuel kind of built like a running back in his own right and had a similar collegiate career as you did. What's the competition like between you and Deebo Samuel, and how much did you learn from him this season?
I learned a ton from him. Our thing is to go get paid. We want to both get paid. We want to be great players in this offense, and do good things together. So our main focus right now is to get healthy this season, and just bring a new attitude, new approach to the team this year, and just boost our whole entire group.
So let's end on this and look ahead to this offseason. I know you've said that you want to work on your body this offseason, try and get right, try and stay healthy. I know you battled some injuries this season. What exactly does that look like? Are you setting any goals, any weight goals, any testing goals, or is it really just an overall approach to this offseason about getting healthy and staying healthy?
I think for every football player, it's a little bit different for everybody. But everybody knows when that feeling that you get when you're in tip-top shape, when you feel fast, you feel explosive, you just feel right in everything that you do. So that's pretty much the main goal, is to realign my body, make sure everything's lined up, get stronger, cut down on body weight, faster, stronger, and just get back that feeling of I know that I'm at my tip-top shape and ready to play the best football that I can.
Can't wait to see it next year, man. Really appreciate your time. Have a good one. Brandon Aiyuk. Going to get healthy this offseason, going to continue to work with Wes Welker, and going to dominate next year. I'm excited for him in San Francisco. I mean, he's one of the more fun to watch rookies this season. I thought he outperformed my expectations. I was not as high on him as you were. And I think the biggest thing, and we talked about this in the interview, was he admitted to it. I did not run a ton of routes at Arizona State. No one knew. And he was a JUCO transfer. I did not run a ton of routes at Arizona State. And San Francisco, I run a shitload. And I look a lot better doing these. And I think you see that. And I think he's going to get better in year 2 as well.
Yeah, and I feel like if I had Wes Welker in my ear, I could I could make some noise from the slot.
I knew you were going to say some shit like that. If Wes Welker was coaching me up, I'd probably throw up 1,000.
I like $750.
Quinn could probably get $400
in that offense.
Not $400, 400 yards.
I really was going to say when we had the Bengals conversation earlier, and talking about how they couldn't separate and stuff. I do legitimately believe if you put me out there on the field with that group, I would not be the slowest one.
That's incredible.
I mean, is that crazy?
I don't know. That might be crazy.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Wait,
we could organize that. We could set that up.
We're including offensive linemen.
Okay. If you're including offensive linemen, tight ends, if Jonah Williams is asked to run a route, maybe you might beat him.
Could you create separation against Jonah Williams?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fair. I like the confidence.
Oh yeah.
That's going to do it for the podcast. Make sure you are reviewing, and subscribing to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And it's the mailbag episode tomorrow. Get your questions in. We already have a lot. We have so many. It's going to be tough to fit these in again, but we have a lot of questions, but get yours in. The best way to get your question in is to leave it in a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Any other way, it's going to be tough.
I was going to say, we need a hierarchy of question answering to give to the people so that they know, hey, if we do it here, that's our best chance.
Mm-hmm. So it's Apple Podcasts. Then after that, I don't know if you can leave reviews anywhere else. Can you on Spotify?
I don't think so.
YouTube, kind of.
YouTube.
Comments is
I would say Apple Podcasts.
Then the highest voted YouTube comments.
The highest voted YouTube comments. Then Twitter replies. Then Twitter DMs. And then IG DMs. Then smoke signals. Something along those lines. Find your way to get the question in.
Yeah, I feel like we'll just DMs. I think those are easier to keep track of than replies.
DMs are easier than replies, that's for sure.
So you guys are just fishing for Instagram DMs now. Smart.
Austin, you're private on Instagram.
I know. I need to turn that on. Yeah. Let it loose.
Show all the half nude photos of you.
They're great. They really are great. Man, what a podcast. Until tomorrow, man. Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, 2-for-1 Drafts.